Yo, what is up, my fellow virgin boy? Aben like say sauce can never take a motherfucking loss. I just woke up, literally, bro. But today, we're about to react to the fight business as always. You know how this shit going, this bitch. We're going to react to the disputed battle for the baddest. I don't know what the fuck he mean by that, but I just seen John Jones and Tom Aspinall, and I was like, fuck it, let's get into the fight business. You know what I'm saying?
Somebody has said to Max, okay, it's official. Fury is now the baddest man in the world. And Max corrected them to say, well, the baddest man in the world is the UFC heavyweight champion. Max Kellerman's right. The baddest man in the world is the mixed martial arts heavyweight champion, not the pure boxing champion.
Francis is a competitor. He's proven that he's the baddest man on the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, when Francis walk in the room, you know Francis got him.
Yeah. I love Stipe. Stipe's great. He's committed to the sport, went all in, and became one of the greatest heavyweights of all time.
John Jones is the best ever. And when I say ever, I mean in any combat sport. He's the best ever. You throw John Jones in a room with anybody, John Jones walks out of the room.
Let's take a look at some of the baddest dudes in UFC history. All this talk about pound for pound doesn't mean much because when you put the baddest man in the room with anyone, he walks out of there every time. In 2008, it was Brock Lesnar, a 300-pound genetic athlete who was roided to his
Brock Lesnar wasn't even a good fighter, my nigga. He was okay. He was a wrestler, though, but he was alright.
eyeballs and became world champion in his 4th MMA fight. I know I said roids, but that's still a special athlete.
I swear that if Brock Lesnar got into mixed martial arts right out of college, man, I think he could have been one of the all-time greats. I really do.
In 2010, the baddest dude in the world was Cain Velasquez, a heavyweight menace who moved like a lightweight and had the cardio of a flyweight. And also, by the way, someone Jones wasn't so keen on fighting.
John, would you consider going up to heavyweight if you win this fight?
No. I have a lot of work to do in the light heavyweight division. And look at freaking this guy next to me here. He's freaking, look at, would you guys fight him? I don't know, guys, I don't know.
Anyway, 2015, it was Fabricio Verdum, 2016, Stipe Miocic, and so on and on. And fast forward to 2024. Out of the last 3 heavyweights to hold gold in the UFC, none of them have actually faced each other. The word lineal here is very much at play because neither Francis, Aspinall, or Jones have lost their belts, and the answer to who is the baddest dude in the world is the most disputed it's ever been.
What I've got against this fight in particular is it's contested for an undisputed heavyweight title.
Yo, Tom look kind of different. Like, do he got veneers or something, bro? Because I didn't see him look like this last time.
This is far from undisputed. This is the most disputed title that you can possibly get because there's 2 champions. One of the champions, John Jones, is avoiding the other champion, me.
This is an unprecedented situation, and we have only one guy to thank.
I see where this is fucking going.
Thanks, Dana. But for what it's worth, it definitely gives us something to talk about.
Thank you to the fighting business.
Yo, today is Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, bro. I'm gonna do a reaction video to that. That shit gonna be funny as shit. I got Mike Tyson whooping Jake Paul ass easily.
Absolutely amazing.
One of my favorite new channels going right now.
Usually, that gold belt dictates who the best in the world is, but like every general rule, there are exceptions to this, like the current mess at heavyweight. The title holder is John Jones, and I'll be the first one to tell you, he is without a doubt one of the greatest fighters of all time, and the success he's had at 205 will probably never be replicated. But as a heavyweight, John Jones is 1-0 in the division, and while he beat a top contender, he did not be the champion to win the belt. Jones has been eyeing the heavyweight division since 2013, but waited out for the perfect opponent to show up. DC, who he had beaten twice at 205, was the champion at one point, but Jones refused to move up. Something about the advantage would be too great in favor of 40-year-old Cormier. So if not DC, then who else? In 2023, nearly 10 fucking years later, we got the answer. The perfect opponent for Jones would be Cyril Gane. After a few years of trashing the UFC, demanding Wilder money and beefing with Dana White,
Working out in the gym in the morning, seeing tweets from John Jones saying I'm lying. It's not like I can't prove what I'm saying is true. We have text messages from him, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna put his text messages out in the press. I could. If John Jones wants to sit down and take a lie detector test about who's lying and who's not, we can do that too.
Jones finally made...
Man, what happened to that Dana White? Now we got to the, John Jones the best pound fighter in the whole world. Like, what happened to Dana not glazing, bro? He used to be way better, but it's cool.
His return to the UFC, and for his debut at heavyweight, he choked out Gane in the first round. Good stuff, but since then, Jones has flat out refused to face any of the young.
Yo, whoever watched that shit live, like, bro, I'm not even gonna lie. I watch like MMA a lot, but when I seen that fight, I was like, what the fuck just happened?
Contenders at heavyweights. Apparently he has done too much and has nothing to prove, but he will happily defend his title against a 42-year-old Stipe who has not fought in almost 4 years. If all goes to plan, Jones' heavyweight title story.
Yo, who is that? That nigga got up and looked like he look.
Stipe, who has not fought in almost 4 years.
Hold up. This guy short as shit. This nigga stood up. It looked like he was still sitting down.
If all goes to plan, Jones' heavyweight title story will include just Cyril Gane and Stipe Miocic. Good names, but someone has already beaten them. Francis Ngannou.
I come from a Francis analysis to you openly as a hater. I'm watching to see him have a weakness, and it makes for a very hard day for me.
There's not a man alive that can take those punches. I mean, my word, Francis Ngannou, he's in control of this sport, and I'm excited for the future.
When Francis Ngannou first lost to Stipe and then had a shit show against Derek Lewis, almost everyone wrote him off as a broken man who would never come close to challenging for gold again. The Predator returned to form with a first-round.
Yo, I'm not even gonna lie to y'all niggas, bro. I know Francis strong and all that shit, but I think Jones is gonna, like, if Jones grab him, bro, it's over.
KO, and he went on to devastate most of the division, veterans to new contenders. Ngannou brutalized them all, and he did not stop until he was back in the cage with Stipe, and this time, even the great Stipe Miocic wasn't able to stop him. Francis beat the lineal king at that time to become champion, but by then, his relationship with Dana in the UFC was pretty much unsalvageable. Months after the undisputed title changed hands, the UFC introduced an interim title just to spite Francis. That was contested between Cyril Gane and Derek Lewis, with Francis' former training partner putting on a striking clinic and becoming champion. Francis and Gane fought at UFC 270 to unify the belts, and the Predator risked losing everything from his title to whatever negotiating advantage he had against the UFC, and he came into the fight with a pretty messed up leg. Despite all of this, Francis, with a brilliant mid-fight adjustment and a grappling heavy game plan, was the winner. Dana White did not show up to wrap the belt around Francis, but was probably backstage banging his bald head on the wall because he knew the UFC was in risk of losing the heavyweight king, and they did.
It's just unfortunate that we didn't come to a term, which I wish we could, but it is what it is. As an independent contractor, I have to look up to myself and do what's right for me.
Francis left the UFC in January 2023 and took the lineal.
He would have made more money if he would have stayed in the UFC, but it's alright.
Title with him. Jones beat Gane to become champion, as we all know, but despite signing a lucrative contract with PFL, Francis went to box first. The first go went really
So did anybody watch that PFL fight? Yeah, I don't think so.
Well for him, as he came extremely close to beating Tyson Fury, but Anthony Joshua put an end to his short-lived boxing career with a brutal second-round knockout. Following the loss to Joshua, Ngannou disappeared from the news for a bit, and with a knockout that bad, many began to suspect that he might just retire. He had made his money from the boxing matches and didn't have much to prove, but with all the talk of Jones versus Stipe going around, Francis got up and decided to serve a reminder of who he really was, the lineal king. At the aptly named PFL Battle of the Giants, Francis Ngannou was back inside the cage. It wasn't the UFC octagon, but it didn't really matter, because as soon as he was done mauling Renan Ferreira, the MMA community online knew exactly who he was.
You always wonder what a guy's gonna look like when he's been away for a long time. There were questions. Who would Francis Ngannou be? Well, it was a resounding Francis Ngannou is still Francis Ngannou.
Proud, inspired, and happy to watch him do his thing.
Kobe Ngannou? Y'all seen that?
Proud, inspired,
Long live Kobe Ngannou.
and happy to watch him do his thing.
The Predator, Francis Ngannou, the baddest man on the planet who never lost his belt in competition, with Jon Jones.
So is this video about glazing Francis? Cause like, come on, bro.
Was trying to. Francis had already done it. Left no room for doubt, yeah? Francis Ngannou, even without the UFC belt, was the baddest man on the planet. I would end the video here, but in the past year, a new challenger has emerged, and I think he might have the most solid case out of the three. Tom Aspinall.
Facts.
He obviously has the ability to dominate the heavyweight division. There's no doubt about that. The guy's got the talent.
Looks like the best heavyweight in the world.
He's the real deal. Let me tell you something. Tom Aspinall is the real deal, man. He's fast, he's agile,
He hits hard.
If John Jones opens as a betting favorite against Tom Aspinall, I know a lot of people who are going to change that number and back up a Brinks truck to bet on Tom.
At UFC 295, the same card where Jones was supposed to headline but pulled out due to an injury, Tom Aspinall, far from 100% but hungry for glory, seized the moment. On short notice, he stepped up for an interim title fight against the formidable Sergey Pavlovich, who was tearing through the division, and Aspinall rose to
Not even gonna lie, bro. Tom is really fucking good. Like, he is the real deal.
the occasion when he knocked out Pavlovich in brutal fashion. He captured the interim title, and the very first guy he called out was
John Jones, a legend. I respect what he's done in the octagon. I'm putting it on the line.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, he isn't.
John Jones is like the paper champ. When the undisputed champ is kind of avoiding the fight with the interim champ and the interim champ's defending, I think it's difficult to say right now that I'm not the best in the world.
But as we all know by now, Jones wanted no part in this. Dana was fully backing Jones here and confirmed multiple times Jones versus Stipe was still going to happen. Despite the interim title, despite the original belt now disputed, this 5 years too late GOAT versus GOAT heavyweight clash was going to happen, whether we or Tom Aspinall liked it or not. Now, Aspinall could have sat on the sidelines with the interim title, but much like Ngannou and unlike John Jones, he decided to gamble what he had for greatness. UFC 304 was in his backyard and the pressure on Aspinall was immense. To really send a message and turn up the pressure, he had to deliver a flawless victory, and he was up against an actual dangerous contender, Curtis Blades, the only guy to kinda beat him. It took Aspinall exactly 1 minute to dust Blades, and I'm not even kidding here. Check the clock. 1 minute. Francis had done this before, but the scary kicker here was that Aspinall was doing it even faster than Ngannou did. The top heavyweights combined could not survive and make it past 5 rounds with Tom Aspinall. He was athletic, aggressive, with a submission game that could put anyone in trouble on the ground, and unholy knockout power that clearly rivaled the hardest hitters in UFC history. This is no ordinary heavyweight, and just like that, in 1 minute, Aspinall made himself undeniable. He wasn't just holding an interim belt as a placeholder, he was proving himself as one of the most dangerous heavyweights we had seen in years. So, while Jones was busy preparing for Stipe, a fighter from the last era, and Francis was boxing and fighting under a different banner against less than stellar competition, Aspinall was clearing out top contenders in the UFC and making a name for himself as the new blood, a genuine threat, and most importantly, the actual baddest man in the world. I think it's him. John Jones, the seasoned technician and undeniable GOAT at 205 pounds, stepping into heavyweight with a cautious approach that has gotten him gold, but not much respect and prestige. Francis Ngannou, the raw power and self-made champion who walked away with the lineal title, battling on his terms in and out of the cage and has proven as recently as last month, still the predator. And finally, Tom Aspinall, the unexpected new force who quietly but violently rose to stake his claim as the true baddest man in the heavyweight division. Aspinall didn't just come to play and wait around for his lucky stars to align. He came to conquer, while Jones carefully chose his path, and Ngannou shattered the mold by leaving the UFC on his own terms. Aspinall has embraced every challenge with relentless aggression, proving that he's not here to inherit the throne, he's here to redefine it altogether. That's what I think, at least. Let me know what you think. Who, out of these three, walks out of the room?
That's a good ass question. That's a real good ass question. We might as well just set up a triple threat match, ladder match. You know what I'm saying? Francis, Tom, and John Jones. WWE, TKO. Let's get it. Unscripted.